This is how I've lost millions of dollars in real estate. And you could try and be as careful as you want, but inevitably, you will lose money too. So when I first got into real estate about 10 years ago, a close family friend of mine is a professional investor, and he said to me, listen, congratulations, your real estate, this is great. I know you're gonna do exceptionally well, but I just wanna let you know there's going to come a point in time where you are going to lose money on a deal. And I'm looking at him like, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna be detailed. I'm gonna analyze everything properly. I'm gonna spend my time. I'm gonna watch every project. And there is absolutely no way that I'm not gonna lose money. And I would literally agonize over it. Every single deal I'd be tracking. And then, inevitably some deals don't perform as well. But just as long as I was positive, I was happy. So for the first 2, 3, 4 years, there were some deals that were really tight. Maybe I made $1,200 or, $10,000 or something really, really tight after doing all this work. And I was bummed that I didn't make what I wanted to make, but I was happy because I was still proving them wrong. I hadn't lost money until I did. And over the last 8 or 9 years, I've had a tremendous amount of losses, but thankfully I've had, 10x that in wins. So inevitably, if you're going to be in real estate, if you're going to invest, if you're going to be in business of any kind, there is going to come a time where you're going to lose money. You're going to have bad months, bad weeks, bad quarters, bad years. It's just the way it is. Nobody has this perfect kind of constant upward trajectory without a little bit of this in the middle. So this particular story is about the time I lost the most amount of money in a real estate deal, which was in excess of $200,000. Now, I do a tremendous amount of fix and flips. I've done, new construction, commercial type of development. What I've learned is that when I lose the most money, it's when I'm doing something that I'm not familiar with, and it is outside of my, typical lane or scope of what I do. Now, with that said, I think you should try anything, everything, because, hey, listen, you might lose money the first time, but learn a ton, and then that might be a totally different business, and you might make millions, and it might be the next 5 or 10 or 50-year run of your life. So never be afraid to experiment, never be afraid to lose money. Just do it in an educated and controlled way. So if you do lose money, you're not losing all of it and ending up in the poorhouse. So a couple years back, I really wanted to get into commercial real estate. I was at NYU, I was getting my master's in real estate development, and I was fired up. I was out there really looking for commercial development opportunities. So I ended up getting a lead on a temple. Now this temple is located in Long Island, in a town called Oceanside. It was a 4-acre parcel with a temple that was on the verge of going out of business. And we put together a deal where I was gonna purchase 2.5 of the 4 acres, and I was gonna have to rezone the property and turn it into an assisted living facility. Now, for those of you who don't understand, a rezoning is not an easy thing to do. It is not as of right, which means I can't just build the assisted living facility there. I have to get town board approval. Town board approval is a very political thing. They can say yes, they can say no, and they don't have to give you any type of reason. And inevitably, it all comes down to who's making money, who's getting votes, and who's gonna benefit out of that. Nobody cares if it's a great development. Nobody cares if it's gonna benefit the community. Nobody cares about any of that. It's just a matter of how the masses feel. So I originally had this opportunity and I started putting the deal together. And I was young and idealistic at the time. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to share it with the community and let them know what I was thinking of and give them options. Because my theory was, hey, if I come out and I am open and honest and forthcoming and idealistic and say, hey guys, I have this piece of property. Right now you have a temple that is failing, that is falling apart. These are your neighbors, this is your community. I'm sure you want them to be able to, have their temple. Also, I'm sure you don't want the temple to look run down. And I'm sure you would like a beautiful building of some kind there that is going to generate tax revenue and generate jobs and be good for the community. So I thought. So I sat down with them and I invited them all to come to the temple, and I had about 300 people come in, and I put together a detailed plan of all these different asset classes that we could build. So we could build self-storage, we could build medical, we could build affordable housing, we could build market rate apartments, and we could build assisted living. Now, All 5 of these things were in massive demand, and there was very, very little supply. All of them would have been great developments from an economic standpoint, from tax dollars, revenue, and job creation. But listen, everybody has their thing. But I figured if I would check all 5 of those boxes. There had to be an overwhelming majority of people that favored, 1 or 2 of those things. It would be a lot easier for me to get it approved and everybody would be happy. Politicians would be happy, the people would be happy, I would be happy. It would just be great. And it would be an excellent case study because nobody ever does that type of thing. Like nobody's ever socially responsible, goes out, has talks with the community, see what they want, and then ultimately put it into effect. What I learned is that the reason why they don't do that is because the overwhelming majority of people are completely out of their mind. They have no idea what it is that they want. They don't understand what benefits things are. And all they do is look at you as a developer and say, I hate you, you're making money, I'm not, this is my community, you don't care about my community, which is not the case. And the biggest issue is, believe it or not, with any kind of commercial development is, people don't want change. That's it. It doesn't matter. If they have a building that's falling down, that has graffiti, that has crackheads living in it, they would much rather have that and be comfortable with it in a lot of cases than have somebody come in, rip it up, and build a new development. So lesson number 1 in this process is only go as a developer where people want you. When they are coming to you, when they are asking you to invest money, when they are rolling out the red carpet for you, that's where you come in. It doesn't make sense to fight and try to sell them on it and show the features and benefits. It doesn't make sense 99% of the time because at the end, it's just not going to happen. So the public got news of this because obviously I was out talking about it all over social media. I was bringing all these people in. And there was a point in time where a prominent figure called me up and basically tried to take the deal from me and told me like, hey, listen, you're not gonna be able to get this done. You're gonna assign this to us. You're gonna sit here and then we're gonna get it done and we're gonna pay you like a nominal fee for that. Well, me again, being idealistic, I wasn't having that. So I respectfully declined, which probably wasn't, the best situation. But I assembled what I thought was the best team. I got the best attorneys, I got the best architects, I got the best zoning people, I got the best traffic experts, I got the best of the best all together. And obviously the best of the best costs the most. Now these are the guys that have been doing this for 20, 30 years. They had all the local connections, they knew all the political leaders and everything. And at the end of the day, before political gain, I ended up just being hung out to dry. Because what I didn't understand is behind the scenes, and this has nothing to do with development, there was a number of temples in the area, and the temples were kind of feuding with each other for many, many years, which I was unaware of. And there was supposed to be a merger between the temple that I was purchasing and another temple down the street. And that merger didn't happen because one was more religious than the other and they wanted to remain separate. But ultimately, the other temple wanted the merger so they could sell the property and then they would take the money and they would take the additional members because they were all losing members at a very fast rate. Because of that, one member in particular who really had it out for the temple that I was purchasing a section of launched this guerrilla initiative stating that this was the worst thing ever, that I was a terrible person, that if we put an assisted living facility up, people would be dying all day, every day. There would be ambulances coming by. There would be unbelievable traffic. All these things that ultimately aren't true. Because anybody who knows assisted living understands that it is literally the least evasive use of anything you can do next to, let's say, self-storage. There's no issues with parking. There's very little traffic, if any. Obviously, people are not dying every minute of every day with ambulances screaming by. That is not the case. But because there was this underlying feud that I was completely unaware of, and there were politicians that were looking to get elected, and we were so close to an election, they essentially hung me out to dry. And how did they hang me out to dry? When we had the initial hearing, only a few people came out against it. So in theory, it should have passed. But because these politicians were looking to push their own agenda, they left it open and set a following hearing. So they left it open, the case open for 2 weeks. And during that 2-week period, that's when all the propaganda started going on social media. And they had a follow-up event where a follow-up hearing where people could voice their opinion. And there were dozens and dozens of people. They put a petition together. At the end of the day, I ended up losing $217,000. And today that temple still sits there. It's still losing members. It's still falling apart, and it still looks terrible. And the community still needs an assisted living facility very, very badly. So, it was a great experience. I learned a lot of lessons. Worth every bit of it. I wouldn't turn it back, but just understand that if you were going to try things and you're going to push the limits and you want to be a big real estate investor, a big developer, a big business person, whatever it is, you're ultimately going to lose money along the way. It is just part of the process. And it usually happens when you're outside your comfort zone doing things that are typically not in your lane. So if you're going to do things that are not in your lane, which I think you should, make sure you've prepared yourself, make sure you have a mentor, and make sure that you limit your downside. And then if you lose, you're not going to be losing at all. So if you like this video, if you want to hear more stories, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below.